Hi, this is Professor Karen Collins with a how-to on how to write a story. When we are talking in class, we have been talking about the importance of the basic steps in putting together a news story. The first step, of course, is to start with the 5 W's and the H. That's who, what, where, when, why, and how. Remember that any good news story is going to provide answers to each of those questions. Who did it? What happened? Where did it happen? When did it happen? Why did it happen? How did it happen? Find those elements first when you're gathering your information, or when you're doing interviews, make sure that you are answering those questions. The second step is to remember the inverted pyramid. The inverted pyramid structure is the basic shape for a news lead. This refers to the style in which the most important things go first. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the most important things or the first things that you find in your reporting. So you as the journalist must make sure that the information that you find, that you put it in the correct priority. A good approach is to assume that the story could be cut off by an editor because of space limitations. So you have to make sure that your story is going to work. Your lead, remember, should be 1 to 3 sentences only. 1 to 2 sentences is optimum. So let's scroll down a little bit and let's look at this report. In this paragraph, here we're seeing this is a report of an accident. And these are notes that were received. So the notes say there was an accident occurring in your city at 7:10 this morning at the intersection of Post Road and Rollins Avenue. Charles R. Lydon was driving north on Post Road and proceeded to enter the intersection in his van at a speed estimated at 40 miles per hour. His van struck a fire engine responding to an emergency call with its lights and siren in operation. 2 firemen aboard the vehicle were hospitalized. However, their condition is not known at this point in time. Lydon was killed instantly in the serious and tragic accident. Authorities have not yet determined who was at fault. The truck was traveling an estimated 20 miles per hour and responding to a report of a store fire. However, it was a false alarm. Lydon's van was totally destroyed. Damage to the truck was estimated at $50,000. Okay, step one. Step one. Determine what is the most important thing that happened. Okay, so, and you want to work with your 5 W's and 1 H from there. So from the notes that we received, the who is Charles Lydon. The what is was killed. Whenever somebody is killed, that's usually going to be the most important thing that happened. If it's the most immediate thing. We're not talking about somebody that was killed 2 weeks ago, right? So, the who is Charles Lydon. The what is was killed. When? This morning. Where? At the intersection of Post Road and Rollins Avenue. Why was he killed? That's the why. He was killed after his van struck a fire engine responding to an emergency call. How was he killed? We don't know. We weren't given details on his injuries. Okay? So you have to remember the how refers to the what. In this case, how was he killed? We know he was killed in the accident, but we don't know, what actually killed him, what injuries he had. Okay? Now, there's some other important information that you need to consider. In this case, there are 2 who's. There's Lydon, and then there were the firemen aboard the fire engine. But because Lydon was killed, that would take precedence over the firemen who were injured. There are also some important pieces of information that you would need to find out. First of all, Lydon's town and age. Okay? It said the accident occurred in your town. It doesn't say that he was from that town. See how there's a difference? Okay? So you have to make sure you check that. Don't assume that just because the accident occurred in your town that he lived in the town. You want to definitely get his age since he was killed. okay, because this is also taking on a little bit of a form of an obit in that you're saying that the person died. Where was he pronounced dead? That information is also missing. That's also important. Was he declared dead at the scene, or was he taken to the hospital where he died from his injuries? You need to get that information as well. Finally, you need to know the condition and injuries of the firefighters and where the firefighters have been hospitalized. Okay? Are they in stable condition, what a critical condition, grave condition, whatever it is. This report also needs attribution. Presumably this information is from the police, but the information is missing here in the notes. So you need some attribution here. You also need to double check the spelling of Leiden, since it was spelled two different ways in the notes provided. Final thing is watch the language in the notes. The correct terminology these days would be firefighters, not firemen. You cannot assume that the firefighters were men. And even if they were men, it's still the correct terminology is to go gender neutral. So your lead should read something like this, keeping in mind the inverted pyramid structure with the most important information first. Whatever town he's in, a Montclair man, if that's the town, was killed this morning after a van he was driving on Post Road collided with a township fire engine, which was headed to an emergency call. According to whoever the source is, the police spokesman, Charles R. Leiden, make sure you check that spelling, age, was pronounced dead at the scene, if that's where he was pronounced, period. In the third sentence, 2 firefighters on board the fire engine suffered whatever injuries and are currently in whatever their condition is at whatever the hospital is. Okay? So that is a how-to on how to construct a news lead for our journalism classes.